Disminiv Glerchada, Augusta Falter of Sagobila Gerig. Here we are in central Ballingeary village, and to my right is the road to the Pesachemini and Gugan, and to my left in the distance you can see Sharton's Bar, which we will be returning to later tonight to record some music, song and dance. And in the meantime we're going to meet two local gentlemen who are well known in the locality. They're Jerem and Danny Kelleher, and we will be talking to them about water divining and about finding lost objects and so on. Behind me now is Sharton's Bar, a very historical bar, and there's been a public house here, I believe, since the mid-1850s, and if we go in now, I think we'll have some music, and I think we'll have Dennis Winehan and Michal Hyde playing a selection for us. Well, here we are at Ballingeary, and as promised to you, alongside me I have next to me Jerem Kelleher and his brother Danny, and they're well known in all this locality for water divining, finding missing objects, missing animals, missing people and so on. Now, first of all, today they're going to help us to divine water here in this field behind us, but before they'll actually go into the field, I believe they can actually tell me, without going to the field, what where the water is likely to be found. Is that right, Jerem?
That's right, quite good.
Yeah. How do you do it?
Well, we'll get out aside to the field and keep going along backwards and forwards. When we come to the place where the best spring is, we can walk in to that very spot, and we'll get it there.
Yeah.
And we'll guarantee we aren't going to be wrong.
Yeah. Maybe Danny would show us how he does
Well,
that.
When we started first, we had to walk all around the field, walk through the field, looking for the best of the water. And we came to the conclusion that there was no need. One time, when we were looking into the field, and we having the rods, when our eyes came over where the best of the water was, the rods turned in our hands. So from that on, we practiced not walking the field no more, but to look in. And when we'd look into the field, we'd look at one into the field and go right across the field, very slow. And when our sight will come over where the water is, the rods will turn. Well then, it could be from here to the aft into the field. But we look here near us first and we'll continue out until we go in close sight. We'll come over wherever the best of the water is, and the rods will turn in our hands as if we were standing over the spring.
Maybe we do that now with the field behind us.
Before we go into the field now behind us, there's a spot over there. We'll walk over to that spot, and I'll give you a guarantee there's spring in that for the rubber going to that field.
Right. Would you show us how you found that out now?
Well, if I crashed across the field here now, as I'm doing with the rods, there's a small little scroll lifted off the ground over there, and that rod wouldn't not stay steady at the turn in spite of me. There's spring in other places there, but that's the best of it is coming down at that very spot. So we'll go over into it and we'll prove it.
Okay, okay. Right, this is the spot now that we're on, and you're holding the rods over it. Show me now how the rod reacts when you hold them firm.
You can see there now that rod is watching to go, and he's going striking it.
Yeah,
At my thumbs there, I won't let it stop.
yeah.
But you want to go down,
You're holding it very firm, as I can see.
right?
Yeah.
You see that, look?
Yeah,
It's going through my hand side to hold it back. Well, now, I show where the streams are coming from.
yeah.
There's one,
You mean there are different streams
there
around the place?
is at least 3 streams coming into that very spot. And one of them is coming right through there, look. Straight down. Well, if I walk over here, there's another one coming from that stone over there now, down across this way. Well, I'll go backwards again. And there is another stream now. And that stream is coming from that direction. So there's 3 of them passing at that point there, look.
So when the rods begin to turn, that's when you know that the
Yeah.
water is there.
Yes, and if we walk around it, they'll turn over him, we'll pass over the stream. Well, if we had one stream there, then there'd be nothing in the 2 sides when we go out. But whenever we'll try for it across the field, it'll only matter the best part of where the spring is. Well, like, there's going to be more than one there. There's one stream is no use.
And could you tell me how deep is the water here?
Well,
Or how will you find that out?
I'll tell you how we'll find that out. I didn't try to sell now, in this field. But I start counting. This
Yeah.
won't do nothing until I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's water watching to come in there at no 6, but that's no use to get to the
6 foot?
6 feet.
6 feet.
7, 8, 9. Well, I think now at 10 feet you have water in there. But that wouldn't do for a well, then the sea would have to go a few more feet. Well, about 14 feet down there, there should be plenty of water.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how we do the counting.
By the way, maybe Danny would tell us what these rods are made of. Danny, come over here and explain to us.
The rods we were always used to work with the hazel or the silly. Either one of them two are very good. But any other rod outside of that, all that will happen is when we'll hold the rod like this, the rod will turn, but till snap inside our hand.
Oh, yeah.
And these won't snap. So these are way easier
Are they
in the hand.
plastic?
These are whalebone.
Whalebone.
Whalebone it is called.
Yeah.
It is not empty like a plastic pipe at all. It is solid. Solid whalebone or plastic, I don't know which, but they're supposed to be whalebone. But
So they don't break inside your
they
hand?
don't.
Yeah.
But the other rods, we'd have to have at least a half dozen of them. Half dozen rods going to winding water. And it's not easy to get them because you'll have to get both of these equally alike. There's no use in having one strong one and one weak one because they won't balance. You'll have one weak one and one strong one. It won't work as good as what these will. These are a lot easier.
Yeah.
But standing there now, these rods are all right until I think of what I'm looking for. And when I think of water, it is gone immediately. It is gone.
So it depends on what you're thinking of.
What I have in my mind.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well then, other things can be got the same as spring. Other things can be got such as sheep missing, cattle missing.
We'll come to that just in a minute. I'm wondering, could anyone do this? Could I do
Well, I think
that? I won't. Yeah.
I think you could.
Will we give it a try?
Well, first of all, to explain it to you, you'll hold one half and I'll hold the other.
Right.
And
Show me how to hold it.
John, hold it right now. And
Which end?
you'll hold it like that now.
Like this.
Yeah, and hold your thumb there to the end.
Thumb to the end.
Yeah, and don't leave it turned.
Right.
You have it nice and firm now.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, we'll back a small bit from it in order that it's safer. We'll walk in now. You see that bit of grass there now? That's the map we have.
Mm-hmm.
Walking towards that now to see what will happen now. Or will you not say anything?
Oh yes, I noticed pressures. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it gone down?
It is, yeah.
Hold it now, don't leave
No,
it
I'm not leaving it go, no. Yeah, I can definitely feel
There's still
the pressure. Yeah.
Still pressure on it.
Yeah.
Well, look at your finger there now.
Yeah, it's marked into my thumb, in fact,
Yeah,
trying to hold it.
trying to hold it.
So,
that's what happens when we'll hold it out.
yeah.
And much the same happens when we'll come to depth. When you'll come to the depth of the water, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to go down. Not before then.
Yeah. But, right, that's for water. And but of course you deal with so many other things you just mentioned, besides water. And what other things do you deal with, Jerem?
Well, no, inside about in this month, past now December, we are looking for 3 different bodies. That's in that case, all right. But well, we barely tell them when they come for they were dead or alive. And then 3 were dead, unfortunate enough. They were drowned.
Yeah.
So.
And you,
well,
you told them where to look.
Well, we expect they'd be. Yeah. And they were got the 3 of them were got all right.
How do you actually do it? Do you have to have a map or a drawing or something?
It is a different thing to see. It is done with a tap and a map. That's the tap we use for trying for it.
Yeah, show that to the camera there now, what it's like.
Well, it is only a balance.
Yeah.
It is only a balance, and it is with that we do the whole thing if we got a map. And moreover, if we knew the place, we'd have an easier job.
Yeah.
But it's the same as the rods.
Mm-hmm.
In place of having the rods, you don't need to work. If you can work the rods as well, in place of the tap. But you are inside the kitchen, inside at home, and you have your map in front of you. You don't have to be in the spot where the person is missing, or the animal is missing. We'll take it. You can do it off of the map.
Mm-hmm.
A drawing or the survey map, any one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you hold that over the map?
You will hold it over the map, and you'll take it from one position. We'll take it now if there was anything missing inside in Cork City. Take it from the town of Macroom.
Yeah.
Well, you can go from that to Bandon.
Mm-hmm.
Take it from Bandon.
Yeah.
On the map, and where it'll swing from the town of Macroom.
Mm-hmm.
We'll say if it is in the city. Well then, when we'll take it from Bandon, wherever that line is going to swing.
Mm-hmm.
If that's where the 2 lines crosses,
that's
the spot where we'll give that missing article, animal, or person, as the case may be.
And I believe people come to one of you first and then go to the other.
Well, that's the fact, all right. They'll have 2 trials.
Yeah.
Well, we are not saying we are 100% right.
Yeah.
We are not saying that. By no means 100%. But we are not too mighty that.
Mm-hmm.
We have fairly good practice. We have 23 years with it.
Yeah.
23 years.
23 years. So you're after 23 years. How? Yeah. John, maybe you tell us how you first got onto this racket. How did it start?
I was trying for water before. I ever knew nothing, but I was anxious to know if I could get it all right. But at this time I couldn't tell you what depth would be. But this fella came from, I'm sure, Tipperary. He was teaching on the college in Ballingeary.
What was his name? Can you remember?
He was Michael Horton. Well, he was the best man I thought at the time. He'd get map off of a piece of, or water off of a piece of paper. Well, it was ridiculous. Well, I could say no, it was right. But
It was he showed you how to do it first day.
he showed us how to do it the first day over. Well, we met him after 23 years, and he was surprised, all right. Well, we would be
You mean he was around again this year, is it?
around this year, and after 23 years, I think we'd be nearly as good as him anyway. He was extra good.
Yeah.
But does he showed us what to do and how it could be done.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to be learned still about it, because with that tap, if a person could do it, to the pity how it is lost, because it is valuable. If a person missing it, we have a good many got out of trouble with people missing. And we give nearly 99% of that right.
Yeah.
As I was talking to a guy there from Cork City not long ago, and this fellow was missing, and they thought he was alive, that he was in the city. Well, I told him through the phone that I give a guarantee that that man will never again be seen alive. And he wasn't seen alive.
Yeah.
He was.
No, getting away from missing bodies and so on, I believe you have a lot of fun with this as well, or you had at the beginning anyhow, but maybe you don't bother with that much with the fun part of it lately.
I was going to mention that a while ago, that when we started at this first, there was a good many that wanted to get their fortunes told.
Yeah.
And we found great fun in that, all right, because they thought they'd be too clever for us. They thought we couldn't know what we knew. But when we tried their fortune with the little tap, every word we told them came through. And it is still coming through.
I believe you were able to tell people where they had money in the house and so on.
Yes, that was another thing. They thought they could deny thatness. And they had said before we ever tried that it would fail us to get their money where they had it hidden. But before we were finished with them, they had to admit that we were right. We told them the exact spot in the house where their money was. And we'd have no bother in telling them the amount of money. We could count it. And which it happened several that lost money. They didn't know how much money had they lost, but we told them how much money they had lost. And in all money, the first time over was John Kelleher, a Winch sign. He came to us after being in Macroom Mart, and he lost his wallet, but didn't know where. We told him he lost his wallet outside of the bank in Macroom. He said he had lots of bills paid the same day in Macroom, and the Sunday before that he had money taken out of his wallet, but he couldn't account of how much was there. And we told him exactly the amount of money that was there, and in the wallet. And we told him where the man was from that got his wallet. And we told him when he'd go home that his wallet would be torn before him. And about a week after, I met him in the town of Macroom coming up the footpath. And I said, how'd you get on? Yeah, he said, shall I give you what? He said, I got my wallet. And he said, you were writing the amount of money that was in it and writing where the man was from. He was from Rasheen. We told him he was from Rasheen, the man that got it, and that the money would be torn before him, and it was dead right.
Well, that man from Rasheen was an honest man, but I'd said doing that sort of thing with money that you could get into trouble easily. Did you ever get into trouble with it?
Well, in that, we are very careful of that. Very, very careful of what we are doing in case that we'd make enemies between people. If anyone stole anything from you, we would not try for that. Because supposing that we were wrong for once, we'd make enemies between you and the person that we'd suspect taking your money or your belongings. So we are always careful of anything stolen. We don't want to do it, now we won't do it. Nothing stolen, but anything missing, lost, we would like to get it for people. We'd like to get it back again. Anything lost. But in case of anything being stolen, animals, dogs, sheep, there's several things. We don't like to get involved. Now, I don't think we will get involved in anything stolen, because we could make enemies for ourselves. We could make enemies between neighbours and between people. So we think that it's safer to leave everything. All through
I suppose people come from very far afield to get information, do they, Jerome?
Well, to be honest about it, no, they came as far away as from Donaca. The little child that was missing from Donegal and go. 7 years she was at him. That's a good few years ago. But I'll guarantee she is still alive. She's not in this country, but she'll come back whenever it'll be.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Donegal now.
Danny, you said her name there, I think. What name?
She was near by. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to watch out for that one to see if she does come back in the years to come.
Like I was telling you, Doctor, what David Cork, Classy Clay, was to be beaten this year, and I couldn't see that he'd be beaten. So I said I was interested in him, and that I tried every way that he wouldn't be beaten that year.
This is Muhammad Ali you're talking about now, Cassius Clay. Yeah?
He was perhaps the ring at the time, and I told him, no, this was 1969, and I think it was 1971 that he come on the ring again, and he'd be beaten then.
Yeah.
Well, he fought great at that time with Joe Fraser, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right.
And he was knocked out in about the 11th round, and it was needless for him. He didn't care himself good enough. But he won for a good many years after that. Well, he beat Joe Fraser, he beat him again. Cassie Clay beat Joe Fraser again. And if they beat a new man at the time, they'd make money.
Yeah.
So this doctor knows when we sit here, the Dr. Cashman, and the words he said, that'll be interesting. The day came all right, and Cassie Clay came on the ring, and he was beaten.
Now, oh yes, what's your explanation for all this, Denny? Have you any explanation for it?
It is very, very hard to explain it, very hard. But we are told that it was a system in olden days, very long ways back, hundreds of years back, when people had no phones and they had no posts. And if I wanted to know where were you, I'd only work that little balance. And if you want to know where am I dead or alive, or what country am I in, or anything about me, you would use the same. That's what we were explained anyway. It was explained to us that that was the system hundreds of years ago. And that this is a bit of it coming back all the time, that if I wanted to know, and I at home this morning, where were you, I should be able to trace you by sitting down at the table, placing my mind on your house to see where were you from your house. And if we were inside, to circle around. And if you weren't inside, if you were, we'll say, if you were gone to Macroom, Bantry, Demanway, Mill Street, any town of them, the tap would swing from your house to any one of them, supposing you were out of home, you were visiting anywhere, it will swing for the direction. So we'd know that you weren't at home. That was what we were told, that was the system that was there hundreds of years ago. It might be more than 500 years or 1,000 years, but there was no post there at that time. Going to America, no one writing, no phones, but people were able to get on as good as what they were, as good as they were able to get on today. At that time, it is supposed to be. But that was our that's my explanation about what we are doing. That was the system at that time. I knew things.
Yeah. I suppose it proves that there's a whole lot of things in the world that we don't understand, and that what they call nowadays mental telepathy, that is something like that.
I suppose there's more forgotten than has to be learned yet. That there's a pile forgotten, like we don't know if that system had there thousands of years ago, but we are told that this was one of them anyway, what we are doing.
But we have no like phone in the world. Well, with that tap, we get information by concentrating. It's hard to explain it. But if you doesn't treat us right, it's not going to work right and give you information. But when you sit down, we are as dull as what here this very minute about what we are even doing. But that will give us information.
Is it hard work, by the way, Jerome?
It was hard in the start, all right, but the more we got used to it, it got easier. It was hard right in the start.
I remember you telling me sometime that someone called you about 6 o'clock in the morning and that they woke you up and so on, and you had to take a bit of time to unwind and so on.
That'd be the worst time we could do it in the morning after getting up. If we were tired in the evening, you would come out better. But they came at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they were missing a body that morning. And for dinner time that day, they had that body got.
It's a sad story. Danny, you have something else to say?
You mustn't have anything else in your mind while you're concentrating on that. For instance, to be something like, supposing you were writing a letter,
Yeah.
and it was an important letter you were writing, but I was alongside you asking you questions,
Yeah.
and you were trying to answer me the questions, and you were trying to write your letter. And when you had the letter wrote, if you would go back in it and read it, you would have piles of mistakes, wouldn't you?
Yes, that's true.
Well, we'd have the very same. If there's any other thing coming into our mind while we're concentrating on what we're looking for, we could have mistakes, and a lot of it is there. A lot of the mistakes comes in.
Yeah.
That we can make a mistake if we are not concentrating right in what we're looking for. You can't do it over rush. You must take your time to it, and especially in the evening, late, we'll say from 6 o'clock until bedtime, would be a great time to try for anything. Because if we're trying for anything, if you're coming to me in the middle of the day, and if I have a hay to be baled, for instance, or hay to be turned in a field, I'm thinking of that. And to my work is most troubling me. I can't go back in what you're wanting to find out. And I'd often tell you, if we call when I'm finished in the evening. Because you can't concentrate if you have other things in your mind, like I'm saying. You must cut out everything. And put on your mind that you're going to make no mistake, that you're going to make no mistake in what you're doing. And if we'll do that, everything will run smooth. But
you really have to concentrate.
You will have to concentrate, and I suppose if we're out late the night before, or things like that, that it would not be the best time.
Yeah.
It would not be the best time.
Well, I know that neither of the two of you drink, so you wouldn't have that problem, I think. No.
That line,
No.
that if we were tired, I'm coming at, that if we were tired, that you mightn't be in the best of form. Well, there's much more than it, but that there's no secret. We can't say that there's no secret. We'd like everyone to learn it. We have everybody try it. Everywhere we go, if we'll do wine water anywhere, we'll try and get, like we are asking you there while ago to hold their on. We'll try them to see would anyone learn what we're doing. Because we give anything to pass it on to others. But so far, we're after failing with 23 years. For about the next 23.
Have you anything else to add to that, Jerome?
I couldn't say much more, but there was two girls here in Ballingeary that learned from Michael Horn the time he was around here. They were good, alright, extra good, because we had a trial of them, but they gave it up. They were the only two that we seen of any good. One of them is Donald Lynch's wife in Laoire, and the other one was the first cousin. Funny enough, the two of them were as good as we were at one stage. If
They gave it up.
Oh, they gave it up if they practiced, they were right.
But however, after this program now, many more will be practicing, and
Well, we'd like to.
They might try it. To the pity without someone learning it. We are getting old, we are finishing up.
there's a good old kick in your head, sir. Yeah.
Well, that's one thing that we'd like to pass it on, if we could get anybody to learn it, because it is valuable, all right. It is valuable, all right, definite. They wouldn't be coming from far away, as far as they'll come down from Limerick, Charleville, to us if there's anybody missing, any person missing belong to them. Well, all we'd hope is that we get them alive. But if it's showing us that they're dead, we'll have to give them the bad news, and that's the thing we don't like.
I know,
We'd always like to have the good news for them, but if they'll ask us, we'll have to tell them the truth.
That's true.
It won't do to have keep the bright side out for them. We'll have to tell them what we're showing us, and that's what they want when they'll come. If the news is bad, well, they're willing to accept it. So,
Right, well, you were able to tell us there a while ago how deep the water was under us here. Can you count other things as well, Danny?
yeah, everything is the same as water. I was telling you there a while ago about the money in this man's wallet,
Yeah.
John Kelleher's. That was the very same as counting the depth of the water here under me. We only counted 1, 2, 3. That was the pounds that was in the wallet, and we got it correct. But if there's cattle missing from a person that they don't know the number, we can tell them that as well.
Yeah.
For instance, there was one man, he was missing cattle, and we were asked to try for them. And it was supposed to be kept a secret that no one would know anything about it if we tell them where the cattle went.
Yeah.
So it was a good friend of mine that asked me would I try for these cattle, and they were in grazing for my in the range. And I told him that, as he told me that it would be kept a secret, that I would try it for him. And he brought them to me the following Saturday, these two men, and they said how they were missing cattle, and they didn't tell me how many. So I tried for the cattle all right, and I told him where the cattle were, that they were up in Kelleher. So he said, how many cattle are there? So I just had to start same as I would count the depth of the water with the tap, and at 33 it circled around. So he told me that, I told him that there was 33 there. He said, you're wrong there. Well, I told him, like I was telling you, that we aren't 100% right, he said. I could be wrong. But he said there was 45 head of cattle. Well, I said, that's all right, but I said, I'm only getting 33. But it took them at least a week before they got their cattle up in Kelleher.
And how many did they get?
They got, when they were brought in, these cattle were all punched, ear punched. They couldn't make a mistake in them. They had no bother in picking their own. And when they were brought in to the yard, they picked out their own, and they had 33 head of cattle.
So you were right?
I did correct. 33 head of cattle that was there belonged to them. So they asked the man to see where was the others, that there should be 45. He denied it first, but he admitted all right that he had them sold in marts. But it wasn't his fault. He had the cattle bought all right, but it was the man that sold them to him.
He was the crew.
He was the crew, all right. But only alluding to the counting the number of cattle, it is the exact same as counting the depth of the water. Counting money in your pocket. We often done that. We tell people how much money had they inside in their pocket, and we were writing it. So that's the explanation I could give about counting. Counting is the exact same as getting the depth of the water.
Right, thank you very much, Danny, and thank you, Jerem. And as they wish, they expressed there that others would take after them and learn all about us. Maybe this program will do something about that. Danny, of course, plays the accordion as well, and we'll be hearing him as well on the program later on. But for the moment, we'll leave it at that.